Hi, I'm Rachel.
And my name's Megan. I work on the first floor, and we're from the Chattanooga Public Library.
And today we've got some cool teens with us here who are willing to be our test subjects to talk about some books that we like a whole lot off of Hoopla. So we're just going to get right into that. Do any of you, I know a couple of you probably at least know what Hoopla is through the library? Do we all know?
Yeah, I have it on my phone.
Sort of.
No. Basically, it's an app that lets you like download mostly ebooks and audiobooks onto like your Kindle or your phone or your computer or whatever, and you can read them. And it's been great since we've been in self-isolation and you can't check out real live books from the library.
It's also great because compared to our other digital lending services like Libby and R&B Digital, I would say Hoopla has the best selection of graphic novels of the three that we have.
I guess we should just start out with, how many of y'all like to read graphic novels or manga or any of that? Okay, good, everyone. Good.
I have
Great.
manga at home.
Sweet. So when you guys are like looking for new things to read, new graphic novels, new manga, what do you guys tend to like look for? What are your favorite? Like if you picked up a book and like looked at the back cover or like, you know, the description or whatever, what would make you be like, yes, I absolutely got to read this?
Like slice of, the art. Like slice of life stuff is really cool, but I also like supernatural stuff. I had this one book, I don't remember what it, Mom, what was that one book, the graphic novel about, it was like Grimoire
Grimoire, yeah.
Yeah, I got that one. That was really cool. I made Baylor read it. That's what it was called. I don't know. You probably don't remember it, but so that was cool. But I also, well, speaking of Hoopla and like graphic novels on Hoopla, I got a bunch of the Fence. There's like a Fence. It's called Fence, and I fence. So I'm like, yes, I will take that book. But I got a bunch. There's like 3 or 4 books that you can get on there that it has all of like the 11 or 12 volumes, and then I just read all of those in like a day. So those are probably, Fence is probably one of my favorite ones, and I know that they're coming out with like an actual book soon, which makes me happy. I'm like, yes.
Like the full bound volumes, and yes, I have been, every time I get a chance, I'm like, can we please add more of these to the library, please? Because I want to read the rest, and I don't have a way to do that. Anyone else have like a specific type of book that you read?
Comedy.
Yeah.
I always say that like with graphic novels, that's true. Like that's the one reason the one way you should ever like judge a book by its cover is, does this have a good art style? Because if it's ugly art, I don't want to read it. Oh. It's just so distracting if the art style is just not pretty.
My sister stole my Lumberjanes book.
So
no, I don't know where she took it, but I also love Lumberjanes.
Good one. It's a very good series. I like pretty much, I remember, this is going to tell you how old I am, but I remember like way before that artist even started doing Lumberjanes, back on Tumblr when I was in high school. I remember following her from like the very, very beginning. And so I've always loved any of Noelle Stevens' work. And I'm just like, if you write something, I'm going to read it. That's just the way it goes.
This one is by her too.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, that's in my, I think that I tagged that on Hoopla. I'm about to maybe read it at some point.
So historical fiction is a little bit out of what you say you guys would like normally read, right?
Well, it depends. It has to be like, I don't really care a lot about it. It has to be very specific. It has to be a specific event that I can like, or about somebody's life. That's I didn't really consider myself. I do love history. History is I do love, but I wouldn't I don't like to read about it a lot. I like to hear about it. So if it's somebody telling a story, like if there's a narrator that you can like look up and stuff and find that there's actual people, then yeah, sure, I'll read it probably. But I probably wouldn't have it as one of my favorites if I based on a lot of the other stuff I read. But again, I haven't read a lot of it, so I don't know.
No, I totally get that.
Mhm.
I did not enjoy learning about history when I was your guys' age. I didn't. I still don't. But I'm with you. If I'm going to read about like an event in time, it needs to like relate to like one specific person, and then have like the surrounding events tell like, oh, this great war, or this other thing. I know, Megan, a lot of the ones you pulled out have kind of that fiction. You have like a fictional story that's set in a very specific time period.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I've kind of noticed with a lot of the graphic novels that I really like, and a lot of the stuff that I've read pretty recently, is that a lot of graphic novels are coming out that are more autobiographical, and especially in the history tag of Hoopla, a lot of these graphic novels that you can find are actually like autobiographies. My personal favorite that I've found in the historical tag, and this is just something I found randomly without having to dig, it's called They Called Us Enemy. And I don't know if any of you guys are like Star Trek fans at all, but George Takei, from one of the actors that played in the original Star Trek series, he was actually spent some of his early childhood in a Japanese internment camp during the Second World War. And They Called Us Enemy is the graphic novel telling of him talking about his time in a Japanese internment. And it is very, very good, and I cannot suggest it more highly enough. It's such a good graphic novel. I also kind of feel like a lot of these historical graphic novels I've seen that are more biographical or autobiographical, it's very interesting because I think a lot of these niche histories that we don't talk about or wouldn't think to even talk about are artists or people that are teaming up with artists to make these graphic novels. So they're using art as a way to tell these interesting stories you wouldn't think you'd normally hear about.
Yeah. Kind of, showing what doesn't get taught in Western Civ, those type of, traditional history courses. And it matters because it's all a part of our real life history that, doesn't get celebrated or, called out the way it should. So, there's a couple of really good immigrant stories on Hoopla as well. The Best We Could Do is a good one that I also read. I think we both talked about that. And there's one called The Unwanted, which is a story about the Syrian immigrants and refugees, and that's going on right now.
On that topic, I read a graphic novel called Illegal. It was about a boy who was trying to get out, I think, of Africa, and so it was his whole journey from where he lived then. There was like a war happening or something, and so it was him and his brother trying to get away to where his sister was. His sister had left for, I don't know exactly where it was, I can't remember, but it was about his journey through there, and it was like really like, oh, I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, graphic novels are good at that. One of the ones we were talking about earlier, Persepolis.
I love Persepolis.
It's great. Unfortunately, it's not on Hoopla. But again, it's another story of like, I had no idea this was happening at all. But, this graphic artist tells the story of her childhood. Is it the Persian War? The Iranian.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, just another one of like, I never learned about this in school, but graphic novelists are doing a lot to kind of make history appealing to people of all ages, but especially you guys.
I'd say it's working.
Yay! I'm sure to hear some of that.
But speaking also on the lighter side of not just like the autobiographical stuff, there actually are in my list, because I was looking through the Hoopla history tag. There's some very like interesting stuff I've seen. Like one of the most interesting finds that I've been meaning to look at is comic book adaptations of like historical classics.
Yeah.
So Marvel has gotten into doing a lot of Jane Austen's works. So there's like a Marvel rendition of Pride and Prejudice that I've been very much interested to like try and look at and see what's up with it. The cover art's fantastic. So I'm just curious to see what these superhero guys are doing with Jane Austen's works.
I might actually want to read Pride and Prejudice if it involves Marvel. So, because that is a book I do not particularly enjoy. So,
You know, I would definitely also say like some of these classics that they're like often really big books within themselves and often written in a very dry old style. I would be more inclined to actually look at them if it's done in a more modern rendition with graphic novels, as opposed to attempting to figure out what these old-timey people are saying.
yeah. Like one of the books on there is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, which I did like a lot when I was in high school, but again, really thick book, not for everyone. It's written in language of centuries ago. So I really like that that's another thing graphic artists are doing, is making classics that are still, they tell great stories of a time period, but they're making them more accessible for people of our year. Yes.
I read a Nancy Drew graphic novel about, and so I really liked it. It was like only one book, and it was the first one, and I never found any other ones, so that's kind of sad. But it was the first one, and I read it, and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And I got it at a library in Ohio, so cool. It was really cool because I had never seen Nancy Drew portrayed that way, and she looked really cool and kind of punk rock, and I was like,
I would be so down for a punk rock reboot of Nancy Drew. You have no idea. Speaking of punk rock, you guys might like this series. It's called Heavy Vinyl on Hoopla. It's set in the 90s, which technically makes it historical, which drives me crazy because that's when I was born. And it's like, oh no, this is historical now? And I'm like, no! But anyway, it's about a group of girls who are they work and slash like frequent this music store that sells like records and stuff, but secretly they're actually undercover crime fighting vigilantes. So you definitely should check that out. There's only it's very new, so there's only like one collected volume of like the first 4 issues, but yes, supernatural stuff, punk rock girls, all the cool stuff. Series,
so I know that Baylor doesn't read a lot of graphic novels other than the ones that I give her, but she does, like every day, she reads webtoons. So maybe, Baylor,
nice.
Do you have any webtoons that you can tell them about? So maybe they can give you some recommendations of graphic novels you would like.
I also read webtoons, so I might actually be able to help.
I'll read action, and then one day I'll be reading like a romance one. It's like the most randomest thing.
I was gonna say, if you like Toaster Dude, there's this graphic novel I recently found a little bit ago called Moonstruck, and it's volume 1, Magic to Brew, and it's kind of in that same vein of it is a comedy, but it's also got some supernatural elements, but it's very interesting because it's supernatural characters in like modern everyday settings. So like the main character is a werewolf, and she works in like a coffee shop with her centaur best friend, and it's really, really good. It's got some great laughs and whatnot, and the art is adorable, and it's so heartwarming too. It's just so sweet, nice. And
Wait, what's it
again,
called?
Moonstruck, specifically Volume 1, Magic to Brew.
Ah,
And it's by Grace Ellis, and it's illustrated by Shay Beagle and Kate Leth.
is it on Hoopla or?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Baylor, did you hear that? It's on Hoopla. That means you have no choice but to read it now.
So I don't know if you guys are on follow the library's Twitter, but one of the programs I'm involved with is CPL hashtag CPL recommends. Yesterday, I recommended this graphic novel on Libby called Pumpkinheads, and it's a
I
very
love that
adorable
one.
romance. And
My mom
that's
read
another
that.
one it's a really good one. So if you like a lot of those romance webtoons, this one is it's like a nice wholesome romance, and I love it so much.
Cool. Well, thank you all for joining us today and talking about your super fun interests. I had a really great time
Mhm.
talking with y'all. It was a lot of fun and chaos, and I tried. So
Hey, I'm just glad I'm in good company to nerd out about graphic novels and anime.
Yes.
you had a lot of great. You guys have good taste in books and literature
Thank you.
and anime. So be proud. Okay. All right. We will say peace out, and that's not something people say anymore.
I don't know.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Yes. Peace out, Girl Scout.
If you haven't already, you can download Hoopla for free at chatlibrary.org. All you need is a digital device and a library card. A list of more graphic novel recommendations can be found in the description below, and you can always get a personalized recommendation on the library's Twitter from Megan on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. We'd love to hear what you're reading, so make sure you tag us on social media. Thanks for watching!